Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by the members of oldsschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with manicexpression.com. Coming soon in 2014 is the mystery thriller A Sight in Scarlet. Welcome aboard to Old School Lane Casual Chats episode number 12. As usual, I'm Patricia.
I'm Kevin.
And with us today is, once again, David from Manic Expression. David, welcome back.
Glad to be back.
And today we're going to be talking, once again, if David's here, then most likely we'll be talking about video games. So
I
today's...
swear to God that recurring video game theme was just a coincidence. I did genuinely pitch other ideas.
Yes, you did. You actually did put in other ideas. It's just that this one just happened to have been it. But anyway, today's topic is going to be based on licensed video games, both the good and the bad. Now, licensed video games has always had a bad rap over the years when it comes to regarding about whether they're good or whether they're bad. We're going to be talking about our favorites and our least favorites. So who wants to start?
Look, David, I think David should go first since he's our guest.
Good idea.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think there's actually a few I think are really good. Like, okay, going to Nickelodeon since that's what you're currently working on.
Yes.
I actually think some of the earlier SpongeBob video games were really good.
Really?
Like, I think Battle for Bikini Bottom was a pretty great platformer. I think even the adaptation of the movie since it used the same game engine, that was also really enjoyable.
I've played a demo of it, but I never really got to play the whole entire thing, but yeah, it was actually not terrible.
I actually wanted to... Well, I think I might be jumping ahead. Maybe I'll wait. I wanted to know what your opinion was on Attack of the Toy Bots and Glob of Doom.
Never played those.
Oh, those are later ones. Oh, okay.
Let's see, I think the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies got pretty good video games.
Oh, yeah, the first one was good.
And I really like the free-roaming New York you got in the second game.
Yeah.
It was almost sort of like just a complete difference, like, in how the games were played. It was sort of like the transition between Sly Cooper 1 and the sequel.
I agree, because with Spider-Man 2, it pretty much became like the staple of future Spider-Mans to come. And then there's also the consideration of the Spider-Man games that came out before the Sam Raimi movie. The one that was released by Activision.
Yeah, I like those games. I thought they were pretty funny, actually. They were one of the first games I played where the dialogue had a sense of humor.
Yeah. And
what did you think of Maximum Carnage?
Never played that.
Oh.
Have you played it, Kev?
You know, I wanted to so bad, but I remember at the time when at Toys R Us, because not to cut you off, David, because I know you were talking, but back in the day at Toys R Us, what they used to do, I don't know if you guys remember this, they used to have, like, they used to go to the video game section, and they used to have, like, a yellow ticket. Like, they would have a plastic cover of the video game, and, like, you could pull it up and, like, read about it and stuff. And then if you wanted to purchase it, it had the price and the ticket, and you just go to the counter and pick it up. And I remember, like, I went to my local Toys R Us, and that game was, like, sold out. Like, you couldn't get your hands on it. Like, it was just, at the time, it was just really popular. And I was very surprised because it was, like, it was a licensed game. And I didn't think it was going to be that popular, but It was, and I couldn't have got my hands on it, which I wanted to. My cousin had the game, and I was going to borrow it from him, but he broke his Sega Genesis out of anger, so I didn't get a chance to play it. But
Okay, well, let's see. Also going back there, there was this Muppet Kart racer for the PS1 called Muppet Race Mania. I actually think it was one of the best Mario Kart clones.
Wow.
They had levels based off the first 6 movies because it came out in 2000. It had a lot of Muppet characters, and it had a lot of the voice actors come back, and I thought it was charming.
I'm not saying wow being sarcastic, by the way. I'm saying because I actually agree with you, and those are I'm surprised people remember those because I actually like those games. So
you played Muppet Race Mania?
Dude, I used to love that game, man, because I'm a big Muppet fan, and I used to love Muppet Mania. You know, when I
was even the guy who liked Muppet Party Cruise.
Oh my god. You know, I like that game for one reason, because they actually used one obscure Muppet. I'm sure if you probably know this, but if for those Muppet fans, they used a character called Digit, which was on the Jim Henson Hour, and I was so surprised. He was the white guy, he had the wiry hair and the lab suit. I don't know if you remember him in that game, but he would kind of give you
He was the one who hosted the Short Circuit minigame.
Yes. And not a lot of people, and I was and I praised that game because that was the first time they used an obscure older Muppet character, because they used Pepe and Rizzo and all those others. But yeah, wow, I thought I was the only one who remembered those games, so I'm impressed. And I don't mean that in a sarcastic way, because I love those games.
And also in the Muppet trifecta, there was Muppet Monster Adventure.
Yes, I love that when you were Robin, and and the Muppets they all turned to monsters, and you had to oh my god.
I thought that game was a nice mixture of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
Yeah. What did you think of the? Your opinion, the story, when they went to the haunted house and and I think Robin blacked out and stuff like that. What did you think? How did you feel of Pepe being sort of helping you out? What was your opinions on that?
Well, around that time, I was just really getting into the Muppets, so I like having the ally character be consistent. And I was never one of the people who really had a problem with Pepe.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the only Muppet from the Muppets Tonight era to really take off into the big leagues.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I remember there was, Miss Piggy's nephews and stuff like that, and the Elephant Bellhopper. So.
Yeah, Seymour, you never saw him again.
Yeah, I know, right? I was what happened to Seymour? He was, in Muppets from Space, they had the green mafia guy, and they had his chimpanzee, his monkey, crony, but was what happened to Seymour?
That's Johnny Fiamma and Sal.
Yeah. I was what happened to that,
Let's see, just to get more with the obscure knowledge, Muppets Party Cruise, they hosted the Gumball Drops Me game.
Oh my god. See, that's why I love those games, man.
I can actually name drop every mini game and who hosted them.
Oh man. Oh my god. Because, like I said, if you're a hardcore Muppet fan, that game, Party Cruise, really was very, it brought back, I don't know, it was that game must have been, I'm sure it was made for kids, but if adults played it and you were really, you knew your Muppet knowledge, that game was just definitely for you. So, I'm impressed that you know.
I also thought Party Cruise is one of the better Mario Party clones.
Yeah. Totally.
Let's see, I'm trying to think what else. Because there are also, speaking of Mario Party clones, there was one more SpongeBob game I wanted to mention, Lights, Camera, Pants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I thought for a party game, it was really good, and I liked how the mini games had a fairly decent variety, and how the challenge actually got bigger as you kept building up the difficulty.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see, let me think if there's anything else in my collection.
Go ahead.
Okay, a major guilty pleasure for me was the Aqua Teen Hunger Force golf game.
No way. Really? Wow.
Have you seen that before?
I've seen the commercials about it, but I couldn't believe that they would make a golf game based on Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Well, it's part golf, part combat, because every time you hit the ball, you have to walk over to it and fight enemies on the way.
Oh, man.
It's also
part that for.
And there's also kart racing with golf carts.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
The game is repetitive as hell, but if you're an Aqua Teen fan, you should check it out.
Awesome.
What system was that for?
PS2. It's called Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am.
Of course, based on a golf game.
Oh, wow.
Like, there's actually, in the tutorial level, when Frylock's teaching you all the moves, like, after you get practice the long swing, he's like, congrats, and this is great, because this is all you do the whole game.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Damn, man, I should have, like, you know, I'm pissed off because I really would have loved, if I had my PS2, I would have loved to play it, because I love Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And actually, they actually just started putting it up on Netflix. I used to have season 1. I actually bought it for my ex-girlfriend, and she was just like, what is it? Because I could have sworn she liked Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and then she's like, I don't like this crap. And I was like, well, all right, well, I'm keeping it. And then that was the first time I watched it, and I just fell in love with it. I actually heard rumors that they were supposed to do a sequel, but I don't know when. That's like in development hell, because the show, from what I hear, is slowly declining, because right now South Park and Family Guy are like topping like the anime, like the adult, like young adult mainstream. So I don't know what's going on with that. But
although even back in Adult Swim's heyday, I kind of like C-Lab more.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Going back, another one I really like was, you know, as much as the Star Wars prequels were underwhelming, I love the pod racing games.
Oh wow.
Well, not all the Star Wars games were underwhelming. I was a huge...
Star Wars prequel.
Oh, the prequel. Oh, yeah,
sure,
of course.
Sure, like, even though they were underwhelming, they gave us the pod racing games, and I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I actually never played a Star Wars video game. I wonder if they had made one based on like, if they made one for, like, Atari or Nintendo from the,
They did, like, the Angry Video Game Nerd covered them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
And they sucked.
Yeah. With the exception of the ones by Super Nintendo, but those are really difficult.
Yeah.
And I actually remember playing that as a kid. There was a neighbor who actually had the Star Wars game on the Super Nintendo. And I do remember recalling playing that, and it was just really cool that you can be able to play as multiple characters. And not to mention that each and every single one is based on the movie, all the different levels and all the different boss battles. But yeah, they were difficult as hell. But one of my favorite Star Wars games is definitely Knights of the Old Republic.
And let's see, another one, because I have a few more I want to list off while we're still here, is...
Sure.
There was, going back to, because a lot of these were kart racers, there was the Walt Disney World Racing Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
The only canon Disney characters were Chip and Dale and Jiminy Cricket, but I like how they made all the courses based off Disney World rides.
Oh, like the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the
Caribbean. Yeah, there was
Caribbean.
Haunted Mansion, Rock and Roller Coaster, Space Mountain, Jungle Cruise, Dinosaur, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Oh, wow.
Let's see, they also worked in a track for Blizzard Beach.
Oh, my God. That, oh, wow.
They even worked in an Epcot and Tomorrowland course.
Are you a big, like, you know, about, like, the Disney rides and stuff very well?
I just know, like, the really major ones.
Do you know about Extraterrestrial? That, well, that was on a ride, but I was going to say if they made a game off of that, that'd probably be scary as hell.
And yeah, I think that rarely you would ever have a video game based not only on the Disney characters, but about the Disney attraction. The only one that most people would regard that as a particular game is Disney Adventures in the Magic Kingdom for the NES.
And the Game Grumps covered that one.
Oh yeah, I know that, that's for sure.
Well, I know they made one for Universal Studios, but they didn't have any rides on it. There was a video game that they did.
Because it got too hard, there were rides, but to unlock them, they had these impossible trivia games.
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm
like
talking.
if you never saw the movies, you'd be fucked.
Yeah, I know. Like there was like one on Jaws, and there was like they gave like such really crappy like things to ask, and I'm like, what? Or like Earthquake. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, when did that game come out? Do you remember?
Well, the graphics were really bad. Yeah. I'm not quite sure when, but it was... It didn't have that many Universal Studio rights. It just had, like, the major ones, like Jaws, Earthquake. I was surprised they didn't have King Kong. They had another one, but I don't know. I forgot which one. Probably a few more, but...
Yeah, probably have a couple of them, such as maybe Beetlejuice and...
No, not Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, actually, that's owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
It's surprising that a lot of the past, like Beetlejuice and all that, they don't have the rights to that anymore.
No, they don't.
They were at one point, but I guess they didn't.
No, they don't. You know, it's kind of interesting whenever you hear, a video game that's based on an attraction. For some people, it's very gimmicky, to say the least. It's like that Burger King video game for the 360.
There were 3 Burger King games.
Yeah. There was the go-kart racing, there was the bumper car one, there was the one in which you played as the Burger King and you were scaring the crap out of people for points. And then there was...
food.
Huh?
And delivering food.
And delivering food. So...
Okay, I'm going to be honest. The Burger King games are kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
That's cool.
And also, I think I'll conclude my part with listing what I thought was the best licensed video game, in my opinion. Do you guys got any guesses?
That's a good question.
That's a tough one. Go ahead, Dave. Stump.
The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Ah. I kind of had a feeling it would have been that.
You guys ever play that one?
Yes.
It was that Simpsons Grand Theft Auto parody.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I remember that one, too.
I like how they gave such a free-roaming version of Springfield. They got the entire voice cast to come back, and they managed to fill the level designs with a lot of places from the show. There are so many references to the show that from the episodes that have been up to that point, and I like the driving mechanics and the secrets and the different cars and costumes. I'd say it probably is, in my opinion, the best licensed video game ever made.
I also really like the Simpsons arcade game. I remember playing that to death when I was a kid.
I actually was going to include this in my list, but while we're on the topic of the Simpsons, I know a lot of people hate it, but I love Bart's Nightmare.
Really?
It was such a difficult game. Yeah, it's such a difficult game to beat, especially when you were Bartzilla. And I remember that I was very upset. Actually, no, I have 2. It was that game because I don't know. I just like putting horror and Simpsons into the same thing, and it was just a very dark video game at the time for me because I wasn't a big gamer, and for me it was just like very, very like. I love the fact how they it was just funny. Like the furniture tried to kill you and stuff, and like. It wasn't the best. I'm going to admit it's not the best Simpsons video game, but I like it a lot. It was hard as hell to play, and the other one was the Krusty one with the rats, which again it was like the earlier Simpsons game. Not a favorite to some, but I enjoyed it pretty much.
Are you talking about Krusty's Funhouse?
Yeah, where you could either play. I think at one point you could play that Bart because yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
We can obviously say that Simpsons games are a rarity when it comes to good, which is not something that you...
The Krusty game
just a year before Hit and Run was Simpsons skateboarding.
Yeah. Trying to capitalize on the Tony Hawk games.
And also, that reminds me that there was a Tony Hawk knockoff that was done by the same studio and had the same game engine, Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure.
I've heard about that, but I've never played it.
It's actually enjoyable. It uses the Tony Hawk 4 game engine specifically. Like, when you grind, it actually shows the same balance meter they used in Tony Hawk 4.
Oh, cool.
And since it's a Disney game, it's really easy compared to the Tony Hawk games.
Oh, yeah,
and a minor gripe I have is that once you beat a goal, you can never replay it.
Well, that sucks. And what kind of characters can you play in that game?
Well, There's 10 levels, and 9 of them were based off 3 Disney movies. You have levels based off Tarzan, Toy Story 2, and The Lion King.
Jeez, that's it? I mean, Kingdom Hearts has even more levels than that.
Well, this was on a much cheaper budget, obviously.
Ah, of course.
But there's like 3 levels per movie, so...
Ah, okay. I guess that makes sense. Let's see. Speaking of Disney, there were a lot of great Disney games that came out during the, NES and Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis period. Some of my favorites were, there was the Lion King game, there was the Aladdin game. I've played both for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and they're both completely different. And then there was also DuckTales for the NES. And I also played, let's see.
Anyone play the new DuckTales? I want to know how that is for the Xbox or something.
It's not out yet.
Oh, it's not? I thought it was. Oh, my friend actually got to play it because he's a game. He does video games, so he got to play it. I got to ask him how he liked it because he got first dibs.
Did he go to PAX East?
Yeah, he actually has the fedora of he had a fedora and he had like the whole DuckTales garb based off the game. He went there. He has a picture. He actually has his profile picture of him as and the video game behind it. But I got to ask him what he thought about it because I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer, and it looks nice. It's kind of interesting that DuckTales would actually get remastered, especially in 2013, because if
I think it's probably because I mean not to like go on a tangent, but Hollywood, like everything now is being rebooted or remade. So I think they they already tried an attempt to redo DuckTales with that Quack Attack thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I think what they're trying to do is like they're trying to say, well, we don't want to do a thing like we did with Ninja Turtles and what we're doing with Alvin and the Chipmunks because they're coming out with a new Alvin and the Chipmunk show,
yes.
Which is going to be CGI and all that. So I guess they said, you know what? Why don't we just start slow? We'll do a video game and we'll just we'll just do a just like have the characters, everything look the same, but just I guess make it like H or whatever. But no, I'm just saying, like, I guess they figured that it was probably best that they just didn't like do a whole reboot or remake. They just figured that, which I actually got to say is pretty interesting because it's like taking it's like it's like what they did with the Ninja Turtle game where it's the same concept, not the new one that they did, but they did one before where they did one for the arcade. But oddly enough, instead of using the voice actors from the original show who used their voices for the video game, they actually used the 2003 actors who did the Ninja Turtles. So I was pretty interesting about that.
Yeah.
But it was the same graphics and everything, but it was just better quality.
Right. And I just can't believe that Alan Young is going back to doing Scrooge McDuck at the age of 93.
What about Russie Taylor? She's not going to do the voice of Huey, Dewey, and Louie?
Oh, yeah, she is. Yeah, Russie's coming back to doing the voices of Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
What about Abbott?
You want to hear something crazy about coming back to doing voices?
Yeah.
When they did, when they did the Kingdom Hearts games, they could get some of the old voice actors back, but not the others.
Right.
The thing is, the first Kingdom Hearts came out 2002. One of the people that got to reprise their role was the girl who voiced Alice.
Really? They got Catherine Beaumont to come back to do Alice.
Yes, like 50 years after the movie.
Jeez, that is insane.
I gotta tell you, I didn't know that, David, and I'm very impressed, and it's very shocking that you told me that. I actually felt the same way when I found out that Chris Sarandon, who did the voice of Jack, also came back to voice Jack for both the Nightmare Before Christmas. But what I don't understand is why they didn't get Catherine O'Hara to do the voice of Sally. I didn't understand it. Like, I know they couldn't get the guy who did the voice of the mayor because he was ill at the time. I know Paul Rubens wouldn't voice like a few dialogue or Danny Elfman, but I just couldn't phantom as to why they couldn't get Catherine O'Hara. But I know they got Chris Sarandon to do Jack. But I didn't know about Alice.
I know Chris Sarandon more for being the cop from the first Chucky movie.
Yeah, no, he voiced Jack. He voiced Jack the Nightmare Before Christmas but his singing voices, but all the singing that he did was by Danny Elfman.
Yeah, and even with Nightmare Before Christmas, they always got Ken Page to come back for Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
I remember him more as the Gator from All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah, who would have thought that he would create the biggest meme in internet history?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That movie was actually pretty dark. All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Are you kidding me? Anything that Don Bluth did in the 80s was dark, Kev.
Except for, yeah, well, after when he did Thumbelina, it kind of went to crap.
Not to mention Rockadoodle.
Okay, Rockadoodle's kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
That's okay. Thumbelina's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Alright.
Although my sister...
I'm going to openly admit to you, David, no offense. No offense, David. I mean, no offense. I think, as a kid, I gotta say, and even now, that scene where the boy turns into the cartoon cat is really, really weird till this day. I was the guy who's, throughout the movie, I'm always rooting for the owls.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Grand Duke of Owls, of course. I mean, it's Christopher Plummer. Anything that Christopher Plummer is, and it's an instant win.
Yeah, you're an instant win, Patty, because you're voiced by Christopher Plummer.
I can't do Christopher Plummer. I'm not even over 90, and I'm not even a guy.
And I think I know with the Kingdom Hearts 2, they got the voice actor for the mayor back. They got most of the Aladdin cast back, except for Robin Williams, obviously.
Was it done by Dan Castellaneta? Dan
Dan
Castellaneta. There you go.
They barely got anybody from The Lion King back. They did get Mulan's voice actress back, and want to know something about Mulan's voice actress? There's one other big role she did before Mulan that you might remember. In the 1994 Street Fighter, she was Chun-Li.
Yeah, I know. She was. Who would have thought that? God. You know, she went from kick-ass reporter to kick-ass
but that's
soldier.
Dan Castorelli voiced Genie in the animated series, and in return to Jafar. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense that they got him, though. I mean, he's the next best thing since Robin Williams. So. True. So I mean, he has something to do with Aladdin.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of your favorites?
I'm gonna take a stab at this. So now I can't stay too long. My favorites. All right, I'm gonna go back a little bit. I'm gonna have to say Ronald McDonald's Treasure Island or Treasure Adventure. I love that game a lot because, I mean, I always liked Ronald McDonald, and I don't know, I just kind of liked that the game. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it playing as a kid. It was very 90s nostalgic for me, and I always got in the mood when I was young to want to go to McDonald's and get something to eat after I played it. It's a weird game.
Is there a murder in the background?
Yeah, there was an ambulance that just passed by. But I liked it because it was a weird game, and Ronald McDonald and Grimace and the Hamburglar and Birdie. They were just in commercials. They never made a cartoon. They never made, anything back. So they had them interact with all these...
Kev. Of course they made a cartoon. Remember those Ronald McDonald movies that they used to give away in the VHS?
No, Patty, that was after the video game. The video game came out, in 93. Those came out, in 97.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I actually remember the cartoons.
Yeah, I actually had,
by Klasky Csupo.
Yeah, Klasky Csupo was the one who animated it.
Yeah, I actually didn't get done with my favorites. I have quite a few that I actually watched. I'm only going now because I can't really stand it.
If you can't stay long, I really hope we can get to the worst as a trio.
Yeah, we will. That's why I kind of want to go by real fast. I would say
real fast.
All right. I like Cool Spot. That was another one of my favorites. I didn't really like the sequel, Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood, but the first one was pretty good. I like the first one was really good. I enjoyed that one. Again, I like how they took these trademark fast food and mascot characters and interacted them with these weird characters that I also love Toxic Crusaders. I thought the soundtrack to that game was really awesome, and I sometimes put it on because I was a big fan of the cartoon and the toys as a kid, and I would actually sometimes if I go on YouTube, they have the music. I'd listen to that. That was for the NES, though. I didn't play the Sega game. I also like a Nightmare on Elm Street video game. Again, it's not the best video game, and Freddy Krueger is in it not as much. Even though it's a Nightmare on Elm Street game, but it was still a guilty pleasure. It was enjoyable. It has an 80s feel to it, an 80s nostalgia. License. Addams Family, the first one was pretty cool. I like that one. Based off the first movie. There were some levels I was such a bitch to play. Wasn't really crazy about it, but, it's all for nostalgia. It was all for fun. I like to play.
Hey, Kev, I remember that you were talking about the Turtles Tournament Fighter.
I'm actually not a big Turtle Smash Up, you mean?
No, I'm thinking the Tournament Fighter for the Super Nintendo. Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like that. I'm biased because I love all the Ninja Turtle video games. There is one game that I don't like very much, but I actually I'll go into that. But I'm trying to think of ones that are. I love Stimpy's Invention though. I love Stimpy's Invention. I used to play that all the time. Big fan of that. That's really it. I also like Nicktoons Attack of the Toy Bots, which was a later Nickelodeon game. What else? Off the top of my head. Okay, I'll save that for the worst video game because I really hated it and I thought it was very unnecessary to make a game out of that. But that's all I can think of right now.
Okay, Patricia, go.
All right. Well, a game that I really have wonderful, great nostalgia to is Chex Quest. It's basically like a CD computer game that's almost like a Doom clone, in which you were able to get it on your Chex cereal. And it was actually a lot of fun. It was actually one of the first games that I was able to play in my home computer. I played a whole bunch of other games in my home computer, such as Ski Free and Carmen Sandiego and Oregon Trail. But Chex Quest was the first one that I played in my home computer. Then there was also, I also played Stimpy's Invention as well. And I also played Rugrats in Search of Reptar. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad now because of the controls. But I was able to get around to it because I played the hell out of it as a kid. And I was able to master the bad controls and the terrible camera angles. But it was a lot of fun, and you get to play as the characters, and you get to reenact episodes from the show, which was a lot of fun. Another one that I really enjoyed was, obviously, Knights of the Old Republic was another one for me. Another one that I really liked was, DuckTales for the NES, and then there was Aladdin. I also played Jungle Book, Lion King.
Actually, when you said Rugrats games, I didn't really care for Search for Reptar, but I did kind of like Studio Tour.
Yeah, that was a nice one, too.
I never played that game, actually. I didn't even know they made more Rugrat games afterwards.
Oh, yeah, they did. They made one based on the movies, and there were a couple of others in between. The worst Rugrats game I've ever played, though, was, it was a game that involved only Angelica, and she had to basically go on a huge shopping spree, in which you had to play mini-games in order for you to get shoes and clothes and makeup and hairstyles, and it was so boring and monotonous.
Now, let me ask you a question. Was that an actual video game, or was that a computer game?
No, it was a video game. They had it on the PS1. They had it on the PS1, and they had it on the Game Boy Color.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was terrible. The level in which you had to get the shoes was the worst. It took you 3 minutes to play a long, boring pinball game in which you had to go through a maze. You had to lead it towards it, and you couldn't even just, put it down. I mean, the mini games are so easy, I can just play it with one thumb. I don't even have to use the other, the other remote, other buttons. Very rarely I actually played with just, with my, two thumbs. I only played it with one, but we'll save that for the worst list. As for the best, let's see, there was the X-Men game that I played. X-Men and X-Men 2 on the Sega Genesis. X-Men 2 Clone Wars, that was the name of it. Let's see, there was also, the first two Spider-Man games, the one that came out before the Sam Raimi movies, and then Spider-Man 2, the one that came afterwards. I've been meaning to play Spider-Man Shadow Dimensions, but I never really got around to it. And then there was the X-Men arcade game, and then there was, let's see what else was there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, let's see, another one that I played, I think this will be the last one. The last one that I really enjoyed playing was, I think it was a fighting game that... Yeah, it was a fighting game, but I don't remember. I know it was based off of a movie, and it was a fighting game, but I don't recall. But it was really good when I first played it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
So let's move into the shit.
Oh yeah! Let's move over to the crap factor. Kev, please share with us on your really bad, shitty licensed video games. Kev, are you there? I think he's gone.
We killed him. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think he's dead. Alright, well, we'll skip him. How about you, David? Tell us about your least favorite
Well, let's see,
license.
Okay, let's start with the obvious Superman 64.
Of course. You can't start the worst licensed video games of all time without talking about that. Not to mention it.
Well, I mean, Superman 64, I think it's officially dethroned Sonic the Hedgehog as the game with the most rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much so.
And also, like, I'm watching a playthrough on YouTube that a guy called Proton John is doing. He keeps an active glitch count as he keeps going.
Have you ever played Superman 64?
A little. Once. I have a friend who has, like, retro games, but it sucks.
I played it once to a friend's house. He was a big fan of Superman, and he decided to get the game. Let's just say that it didn't do well for him. When I tried it, because he said, "Oh, why don't you try it?" And I was like, "Okay." And then when I tried controlling it, I was like, "Whoa!" It's like I was flying all over the place. I could barely control Superman. And then he was complaining, it's like, when am I going to start fighting bad guys? We didn't know that we had to fly through rings most of the time, and then we got to fight the bad guys until much later.
And let's see, there's also, this one, I don't think it's that terrible, but it's pretty forgettable. Like, okay, there's a franchise that has a racing game that you probably wouldn't expect to have a racing game.
Is it South Park?
No, I'll give you a hint. Mars Girl covered it.
Mars Girl. Does it involve with anime?
No, it involves Western animation.
Oh, okay. I give up. What is it?
There was a Land Before Time racing game.
Oh, yeah. That's right. It was a Land Before Time racing game. I do recall on that when I was looking through on the, when I was at GameStop, and I wanted to purchase some PS1 games, and oh my god. I saw that one time, but I never picked it up. And then, yeah, I did see that review in which Mars Girl did cover up the Land Before Time video games, and that right there looks really bad.
I mean, like, the courses, like, they all look the same. You only can play 4 of the characters. Like, they didn't even get any of the voice actors back.
Yeah, I know they didn't. Then again, when it comes to Littlefoot, he's gone through at least maybe like 4 different voice actors.
But like, even with for the voice actors who were doing the characters at the time, they couldn't get those back.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even think they got Jeff Bennett back for Petrie.
No, they didn't get Jeff Bennett back, and they didn't get Andy McAfee for Sarah, and they didn't get Rob Paulson back for Spike.
How the fuck do you not get Rob Paulson back?
I don't have a clue, but then again, when it comes to Rob Paulson, he rarely does video games.
I know, but it's not even like a dialogue-filled part.
I know it's not, unless you count 4, but, as we already recall from Mars Girl, when the moment that Spike talked, the series was pretty much dead.
And let's see, I think, like, I would actually say I avoided most of the crap factor among this, so... I kind of wish Big Rigs was a licensed game just so we can complain about it here, but I guess we can't.
You and your Big Rigs.
You're a winner!
Oh god, that's just as bad as all your base are belong to us.
You know, the thing is about that Zero Wing, the game where that meme came from, like, nobody says anything about that game aside from that opening mistranslation.
Yeah,
like, I dare you to find a piece of gameplay of it.
They actually do have a piece of gameplay of it when you see Screw Attack's Video Game Vault, in which they discuss about that it's not a terrible shooter, it's just very generic. The only thing that people remember about it is that line.
Yeah, let's see, also, even as much as I loved Hit and Run, the Simpsons skateboarding had pretty bad control.
Oh, yeah. Which is funny, because Bart skateboards pretty much all the time in the earlier seasons. How could they screw that up?
And also, there was, let's see, it wasn't Simpsons, but there was... I liked Simpsons Road Rage, but wrestling wasn't too good, in my opinion.
Oh, it was terrible. I actually played a demo of it when I was in Walmart, and my god, I mean, even though that you had all the Simpsons characters, it was not fun at all. And I'm not even much of a wrestling fan either. And let's see, another game that I really, really hated. When you call Superman 64 one of the worst games of all time, don't forget about the Aquaman game, King of Atlantis.
Oh, yeah.
The Superman 64 for the GameCube. I'm sure you probably recall John Tron's review about it, right?
Yep, in fact, speaking of John Tron, I think he covered another of your favorites, the Charlie's Angels game.
Oh, no. I got a history behind that. You see, my sister, for some reason, really loved the movie. And she wasn't a gamer, but for some reason, she wanted me to pick up that game. And I played it, and it was so boring. Oh, my God.
And if your character stands still, the idle animation is dancing.
It is just... Oh, God.
And every time you get hit, they're like,
Oh, yes. Who does that? If I'm gonna punch somebody in the face, it sounds like, oh, you broke my jaw. Oh, you fractured my nose. Who does that? Really? I'm telling you. The original 1970s Charlie's Angels are just dying and, rolling in their graves. Jeez. Yeah, but speaking of another really crappy licensed games that my sister just loved to death as a kid, it was the Barbie fashion show game for the Sega Genesis. It involved with Barbie. And what she did was that she drove around in her pink car and gone through many levels, and you got to pick out her makeup and her dress. And you had to do button sequences in order for her to get through the fashion show. And you got to go to so many amazing levels, such as driving in the streets of California and roller skating and being in the, there's a snow level and you have to watch out for obstacles. It was so basic, but at the same time it just felt so manipulative because you had to worry about buying makeup and dresses and making your character look pretty.
Well, what do you expect from Barbie, really?
Yeah, that's true. Although the Barbie's horse riding adventures, I remember seeing that game on the Game Trailer's top 5 worst video games list of all time, and it was just so funny the way that they presented. It's like, what do you expect from a game that involves with Barbies, and horse riding and talking on cell phones and riding and crashing into trees? It's just stupid.
And I think sometimes there's just times where they picked a franchise that, why would you make a video game out of this in the first place?
Yes. And especially...
There was a Pimp My Ride video game.
Oh, classic. Yes, because everybody just, yeah, what better way to make yourself bitchin' than pimping cars that you'll most likely never have. Oh, jeez.
There was a Jackass game, but that one kind of makes sense. I could see how you could do a video game out of that.
Yeah, it can make sense. Who can induce the most pain? 50,000 points if you kick somebody in the crotch.
Let's see, and also there's those countless video game adaptations of game shows.
Oh, yeah, Jeopardy.
Those can be hit or miss.
Yeah, my favorite one, let's see, I think the only time in which it's not really much of a game show, although they did have a game show at one point. You Don't Know Jack is actually a fantastic, when they brought it into the, even though it was technically not not anything licensed, but that was a lot of fun. Although, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, it had its moments, although it was kind of sucky when a lot of them were multiple choice. It's like, what's the point?
Good point, yeah.
I mean, first of all, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, the tension is that you were asked the question and that's it. You had to guess the answer. And when you get the multiple choice answers, it kind of defeats the purpose. It's like, you have 4 chances and, 1 out of 4 chances you get it right, and it just kind of loses the tension.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that a lot of these game shows outdate themselves really fast. Especially Jeopardy!
Yeah.
Like, if you were to play Jeopardy! On the NES, most likely they'll have references based on 80s and 90s movies that you will probably not even know unless you're a huge hardcore fan. Like, for example, the worst example on this is definitely Double Dare for the NES. The gameplay of the obstacle course and the games, and they were so bad, the controls were just awful. And then when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, you had to answer the trivia questions. And then, there was, unless you're a huge, unless you grew up in the 80s, you're never going to guess these questions. I mean, the answers to these questions, like, Boss Hogg was in what TV show? Unless you know a lot about TV, there is no way.
Or you can Google it. Nowadays, let's be honest, you can Google anything.
Yeah, that is true. You can Google it. Yeah. It's like, unless you're going to go on the internet, or unless you have, you're going to talk to your parents about that, you're never going to guess that Boss Hogg was a character on, what you call it, that one TV show, Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah. And also, one I never played just because it was released only in Europe, but in 2006, let me repeat, 2006, for the PlayStation 2, they released an American Tail game.
What?
I'm not kidding.
Why? They released a game that the movie came out over 20 years ago, and they decided to do a game now.
And they released it only in Europe when the title's an American title.
Oh, jeez. Let me ask you something. Did the direct-to-video movies even make it to Europe?
The direct-to-video movies, yeah, they came out in Europe.
Okay. But still,
the game is vaguely supposed to be based just on the first movie.
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it was a 20th anniversary tribute of the American Tail, that would make sense. But still, I mean,
and also for among the worst, there was the PS2 Shaolin Showdown game.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because you literally can't lose that one. Your allies will do all the fighting for you. It's a game you literally can do nothing to win.
Yeah, and also I can say the same thing for the Teen Titans game. Let's see, another bad game that I recall. The Atari 2600 had a ton of terrible licensing games. Like, who would imagine that a kid would be interested in playing a game that is based on Purina dog food?
Was it really worse than E.T.? Let's be honest.
Well, it's either you play a video game that is based on a movie, or you play a video game that is based on dog food. Choose your poison.
It really depends on the movie for me.
Yeah. While E.T. stands as a classic, Purina Dog Chow stands as a, as a food that can only be eaten by canines.
And let's see, with E.T. the movie is a classic film.
Yes.
E.T. the video game is a classic for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, definitely. A game that was created in 6 weeks, rushed as hell, came out around Christmas time, made more games than actual consoles, and forever buried under the the Mexican desert. Awesome. Just awesome.
You actually can still find copies of that game pretty cheap.
Yeah, you can actually. Like
even bad games, if they get really old and really rare, the prices do go up.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, as much as, games based on licenses, like licensing products is bad, what about games based on celebrities?
Well, we did Tony Hawk. That was really good for the most part.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Shaq Fu.
As dumb as that game was, I would have to see, somebody try a modern version of that where they just, take some random celebrity who's big now and put them in an action game. I'm trying to think. CeeLo Green.
Yes. Yeah, CeeLo Kwando.
Somebody make that.
Yes. Whoever, THQ, yeah. Or, no, EA. I want you to make CeeLo Kwando, the spiritual successor of Shaq Fu.
I mean, he sung the Kung Fu Fighting cover for Kung Fu Panda. Yeah. So obviously he knows Kung Fu.
So there you go. Yeah, definitely. And we can get ourselves an alien, and a cat creature, and a mummy, and a swamp monster, and a werewolf, and Snoop Dogg, whoever. Even though technically Def Jam already kind of did a video game based on hip-hop artists, why not? Let's have CeeLo Kwando. Coming to EA in 2014 for the PS4 and Xbox 720.
And the Wii U.
And the Wii U, yes.
And also coming in 2014, the Manic Expression 2-year anniversary movie is Sighting Scarlet.
Yes, that's right.
That's why I had to get a plug out there.
Might as well. We're about to conclude the episode anyway. So are there any other really bad licensing games that we want to conclude with right before we go?
Well, I actually had one question I'd like to ask. For all the licenses that did not get video games, what do you think would have been the most ridiculous one?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. Let's think of let's just think out of the box of kind of like the worst video, kind of like a movie or a TV show that would have a really terrible video game. Let's see.
Storage Wars.
Yes! Storage Wars, the game. In which you can be able to play as either Barry or Daryl or Brandy, Jared, or Dave, and you have to choose on which storage space you want to bid on in order for you to make lots of money. That's a good one. And let's see if you can be able to find a good one that you can be able to sell for thousands of dollars. Let's see,
I got one. The Food Network, the game.
Well, they actually have an Iron Chef one.
I know, but you know what? Out of all, I know there's a lot of video games where you're doing virtual things of things you could conceivably do in real life. Why would anybody want to make fake food?
I don't get it. I don't even know why Cooking Mama is a popular franchise.
The only one that baffles me more is the build your own virtual fireplace games. Why does somebody want that? Who wants a virtual fireplace?
I don't know. If it was based on The Sims, building a house makes sense, but a fireplace, really?
There's 2 fireplace games for the Wii, on WiiWare.
Oh, God.
And also, since McDonald's and Burger King got their own video games, and, for the Wii, there was a Cold Stone game.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the Cold Stone Creamery video game. I remember that. How do you make a video game on ice cream?
and there's so many fucking instructions.
On ice cream! I mean, I know this is... I mean, come on, this isn't Baskin Robbins in which you have to mix 57 flavors.
Like, I know, like, most video games, they take something that you can't do in real life and make it much simpler. The Cold Stone game takes something you could easily do in real life and make it much more complicated.
Oh my god. Okay, I got one. Krispy Kreme, the video game. All you have to do is make donuts. But you have to be able to work around the donut machine. And then you have to do, like, some sort of, like, motion control to pour the glaze filling. And then you have to have, like, 30 seconds to pack in the box. And then at the end, you're like you're like this person who has to consume as much donuts as possible.
Oh, I got one. Like, okay. The Daily Show video game.
The Daily Show, oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be
I love Jon Stewart, but...
Yeah, and then afterwards we can have the Stephen Colbert DLC. Okay, let's think of another one. What game based on a TV show or movie would be considered pointless? Oh, I know. Why don't we do 43, the movie, the game?
What was that?
43.
I mean, what was 43?
You know, that really bad movie that had all the celebrity cameos?
Oh, yeah, it's called Movie 43.
Yeah, Movie 43, yeah. Movie 43, the game. In which a person tries to tries to point out as much cameos as possible.
But you know what would be terrible?
A Twilight video game?
No. Manic Expression, the video game.
Ooh, interesting. Manic Expression, the video game. Would that be an RPG or a fighting game?
I'd just make it a kart racer, because that's what I prefer.
Ah, of course, kart racer. What kind of kart? Well, let's see. We should also include...
Green Chip could have a 007 inspired vehicle.
Yeah, and we could have Dick or Shadow, ride a spaceship if we want to make it like Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, let's see, what else can we give everybody? Decker could also maybe, like, his hair can levitate him.
Yeah, that's a good one. And let's see.
You could fly around in a hovercraft in the shape of the Nickelodeon logo.
Yeah, that'd be good. Let's give Les a car that has like a whole bunch of piano keys.
Yeah. I've actually seen that in Crash Tag Team Racing.
That would be good.
Let's see, what else can we give?
Let's give Movie Fan 12 a cart that has Mickey Mouse in it.
Let's give James a card that's shaped like a stop sign.
Good one. Let's give... Who else we can do? Oh, what can we give the fanfic critic? That'd be a good one.
Well, I think in her case, after everything she's gone through, we could give her a drink.
Nice. Oh yeah, definitely. Give her a nice cold.
I mean, she did Cloud Mows the Lawn.
Oh god. Not to mention Peekapoon. Fuck. Okay. Creepy. What about Creepy?
Maybe he could be like a power-up.
Yeah, because trust me, if we were to do a go-kart, I can imagine what the size or even the shape would be. Please don't use...
The cart would look normal, it would just be very long and narrow.
Yes. Very long, very narrow, and very hard.
And he's constantly hitting other racers.
That's right, in the rear.
We're sorry, creepy guy, we love you.
Yeah, we love you. Okay, let's see who else. Let's see, who else can we trash? I mean...
Let's be honest, by this point we're just trolling.
Yeah, pretty much.
We already killed Kevin.
Okay, Kevin. Ooh, that would be a good one. Probably one with turtles. Yeah, we'll get him a turtle cart. Yeah, definitely a turtle cart for sure. And let's see, what else?
Tim could be given, like, a car that would be from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, we can get him a Jeep. And
if any of you are listening to this, make this game.
Yes, that would be really awesome. Let's see, who can we give Kyle?
You could just be the announcer.
Okay, but even though Kyle's voice is a little bit low.
Amplification.
Good point. Let's see who else. Ooh, Some Jerk. What about Some Jerk? What would he get?
Hard to say. We could give DVD Grouch to Batmobile.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Even though that I know that the comic book cast will probably be bashing on Nolan. And then afterwards their power-ups will be guns! And let's see, Y-Boy will probably be surrounded with a bunch of cartoons. Fusionator will definitely be a Phineas and Ferb one. Mark would probably be maybe a cattle car.
Maybe he could ride a horse.
There you go, a horse.
But we're serious. If anyone out there has general video game making knowledge, let's try to get us off the ground.
Yes, definitely. Other dude I think would probably be a bowling pin mixed with a blunt. And also mixed with the TARDIS.
So I'm all out of ideas.
Yeah, me too. I'm probably fresh out. Mad Hog. I know that he's into a lot of, reviewing, My Little Pony. My Little Pony, yeah. Let's get him a brony cart. Definitely a brony cart.
They're actually making a My Little Pony cart, some fans on the net.
Oh, it's official. Mad Hog just got a boner. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. I think we're done. Yeah, we're probably done. I think that the guys at Manic Expression are waiting outside right now with torches and pitchforks.
And we haven't even posted this yet. So.
Yeah, we haven't even posted this yet. And, what would be yours? Probably yours would probably be, surrounded by, let's see, probably with cats mixed with,
Or it would be a circular cart, and all the edges would be slasher movie villain weapons.
There you go. That's a good one. And both Ryan McCarthy and James Baven will be video game characters. Jash would definitely be Terminator. Definitely Terminator. That's Jashikins for some people. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done.
So, and one final thing, just as an act of sharing before, to start building hype up. As a member of the cast, what do you want to tell, without obviously going into spoilers, our fine viewing audience about the 2-year movie next year?
Yes, please let us know. And that was episode 12 of Casual Chats. Hopefully this is not going to be our last one. David, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad for being here again. Sorry we killed Kevin.
Yes, I know. And we haven't even brought out the mob yet. And tune in next time as we delve into another episode of Casual Chats. And I hope you guys have a really nice day, so bye-bye.
Farewell.